He's a friend. He's a father. He's a mentor. He's a leader in his community. He's a trainer, Cutman, military veteran. He was a farmer, picked cotton and everything. I ain't even picked cotton before. But he's a good guy. I love him to death, man. He always pulls up and give us some of the best interviews ever. This is his first time doing a live with me. So I want you guys to put your hands together wherever you are and enjoy this while I bring this brother to the stage.
TRC Music.
Nash is mad now.
Thank y'all for coming out with here again. So we got a great show. We're back.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Mr. Jacob Duran. How you doing, sir?
My man, what took so long? Are you getting back to me now? Come on, I told you we were going to do it again, right?
Man, I was trying to blow the show up a little bit. Like when we first started, I barely had 1,000. We almost had 3,000 now. That
good
interview
for you,
helped
man.
me blow up.
Yeah, good for you, man. I'm proud of you. Doing a good job.
No, you're doing a good job. How you been, my friend?
Good. Been blessed. You know, I was in Atlanta last weekend and San Diego the week before, and tomorrow I head off to New York. And, you know, so been blessed, man, just to be traveling and working under all these COVID conditions and all that. So, so I'm good.
Man, you killed it. Last interview, you killed it. It was so good. I dropped it off in pieces and pieces. And then once I hit my 2,000 mark, I gave him the whole hour. It was so dope. Man, you're a super dope individual. For those who don't know, you've been in the combat sports business for well over 2 decades, right? How many
Yeah, pretty much like 3.5 decades. You know, I actually, well, it started in 1974 when I was in the military station in Thailand and studied the martial arts over there. That's, you know, when I got my feet wet and my lips swollen and busted up and my shins hurting and all that. But that's when I got going and, you know, haven't stopped ever since.
Absolutely. Now, talk to us about this past weekend. You were a part of a big event. You've been a part of a lot of big events this month, but over the span of your career, you've been involved in, I can't even name them all, but talk to us about this most recent event you just did with Shakur Stevenson. Yeah,
you know, I love Shakur, man. And I love all the guys I work with, but you know, I knew Shakur was good. I just didn't know how great he was, you know, and for him to take Jamil to school. And like I told him at the end of the fight, I don't think Jamil won 1 minute of any round, you know, so that was a pretty impressive victory for him. So, yeah, I wish him luck, man. He's a good kid. You know, looks like a baby, but he can fight.
Man, he's tough too, right?
Yeah, he's tough. Yeah, he's definitely real tough, man, you know, when it comes to going out there and being in the trenches and going toe-to-toe.
Let me ask you this, because you work with a lot of these guys. Let me I'm gonna put this marker up on the screen right here. I was asking my panel the other day in my audience. I said, who do you guys think is gonna rise to be the biggest star out of these guys? Now I know for sure you work with Shakur, you've worked with Lord Haney, as he likes to be called on Instagram. Have you worked with Ryan or Tank or Tio yet?
No, I haven't. Those three guys, you know, I know them well and all that, but I think if you were gonna ask me, you know, which one I favor, you know, to have a long, good career is Shakur, just because of his style of fighting and the dominant factor that he is right now. He can fight. He can fight and he hits hard. You know, so those are two good qualities. Not to say that these other guys can't, but I think when it comes to skill-wise, you know, when you put polish on one night or one fighter over another, then the Shakur has that polish.
Well, I want to get into a couple things. Because you have a lot going on. You are an entrepreneur as well. I missed that out in my intro this time, but in our last interview, we did a lot of talking about your background and things of that nature. But a lot of big things have happened for you since then, and a lot of things are going to keep coming your way. You before we get started, let's be honest. Do they pay you extra not to cut off the mustache?
It is my trademark, bro. You know, let me tell you what I was. Well, I'll tell you, I was in Atlanta over the weekend for the Shakur fight, and I'm walking into the hotel. It's like a Starbucks. Get some coffee, and I have my mask on, of course, like this. And the guy looks at me. He says, "Stitch." I said, man, you would recognize me without my mustache, you know, so or without my mustache. But yeah, it's one of my trademarks, bro. I've had it since I was about 10 years old. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, it's my trademark. My mustache, my glasses, and my hair. You know,
Now,
so those are staying with me.
speaking of that mustache and that hair, a lot of people, you already know who I'm going to say, right? People say you have a twin out here. I'm sure he gets mistaken for you and you get mistaken for him. Tell me about your friendship with this gentleman right here that you see on the screen.
Yeah, well, you know, it's funny you bring that up because I have the same damn shirt on, right? Check it out, man. That's good. You're real good.
Other than this, I've never seen. Look, if I didn't see you guys in a picture together, I would be like, man, that's the same person. He's Edward. He's Mr. Almost. But
yeah, I look at the same shirt, you know. But yeah, you know, I always wanted to meet Edward James Olmos. You know, he's a great actor. You know, he's Mexican, and of course I'm Mexican, and I knew that he was going to be at the MGM in a UFC fight when Anderson Silva was going to fight. I think I can't remember his fight. Anyway, I knew he was going to be there because they were going to do a movie together. Chris Weidman, they were going to do a movie together. So I'm in the back dressing room wrapping one of the UFC fighters' hands, and one of the staff comes and says, "Hey, Edward James Olmos wants to meet you." And man, I finished up my wraps. I walked down the hall behind the MGM, and I turned the corner where they have the green screen for the fighters when, you know, after their fight, they'll take a picture. And he's standing right there, and he looks at me. We're maybe 10 feet away, and we start laughing. It's the same shit, you know. I mean, I look like him, he looks like me, and you know, throughout the time we were there, we had a great conversation. And he spoke to my mom, and you know, of course, my mom invited him to dinner, and the whole thing all Mexican people do, right? But he said, "No," he said, "Mrs. Duran, you know, I'm gonna get him in the movie also." So I had a little cameo with him. It was an independent film, but from there we became friends, and I sent him a message one time, Marq, and I said, you know, it's nice when people stop me, they want my picture, they want my autograph, and then they think I'm you, you know. And he said, hey, well, people call me Stitch all the time. So that's not a bad thing, man, but a good guy.
Hey, look, you probably can do his job, but I don't think he can do your job with those cuts.
No. Yeah, I've been in movies, so I'm not an actor, but I've been in that area, that dome, but he hasn't been in mine, you're right.
Absolutely. Well, look, let's talk about that a little bit for the people who don't know. Now, you've been in some blockbuster films. You've been in Creed, of course, 1 and 2. Here Comes the Boom, the Rocky Balboa. Talk to us about the journey of doing that, because from that journey, you ended up working with Klitschko. Was it Vitaly or Wladimir that you worked with from Ocean's 11?
Well, it was Wladimir, and then after that, Vitaly. So I worked with both of them.
Vitaly, not
but I started off with Wladimir.
So talk to us about that journey. Like, how did you get to call somebody for Ocean's 11, and from there, you're now work. This guy realized, hey, oh, you're a real cut man.
Yeah. Like, it's a great story, but I think that's what we speak on air, right? And so we could go through some of the things that have happened in my career, and I tell you, I've been blessed. I'm continue being blessed with things that are up and coming, and I'll tell you what's up and coming in a little bit. But yeah, you know, I was working for RJ Reynolds Tobacco Company for 23 years. I made the move to Vegas 26 years ago to follow my dreams, right? But there was a time I wanted to do boxing full time as a Cutman, and I came over here, and RJ Reynolds was they were downsizing their company, so they paid me for a year to leave, and I took an early package out and started working full time in the boxing game as a trainer and as a Cutman. And but the day that I left RJ Reynolds, I get a call out of the blue that they want me to audition for a movie with Woody Harrelson and Antonio Banderas called Play It to the Bone. And sure, you know, I went home, I got my cornerman jacket and rushed up to, can't remember, I think it was a Frontier Hotel, and did a quick audition and ended up getting the part, right? So I was a Cutman I wanted to be with Antonio Banderas because he was Latino and I'm Latino.
Absolutely.
But Chuck Bodak, the legendary Cutman, I followed his footsteps. He used to put the tape on his head of Julio Cesar Chavez or Jorge Paez or Oscar De La Hoya. The guys that he looked like Colonel Sanders, the guys that he used to work with, right? And but he got in front of me and with Antonio Banderas, so I ended up with Woody Harrelson, and
Woody got cut up a lot in that movie. Woody got to work.
Yeah, he's the one that got the cuts. where the coach is saying, or the referee, don't worry, you got the best cut man in the business. The doctor's saying that, the ref. So Chuck Bodak finally said, man, you're lucky you get all the cuts. So that was my first one, right? And then I did Balboa. Joe Cortez, the referee, called me and says that they were doing Balboa, Rocky's last fight, and I want to know if I wanted to be involved or in the movie. And I told him no, because I had a championship fight in Paris, France with Fabrice Diozo from Paris, or from Lyon, France. He was going to defend his title. And then the week after, I was going to be in London with Olympic gold medalist Ollie Harrison from the UK. And literally at that point, I'm negotiating with the staff from Ollie Harrison in the UK. And man, I'm right here when we're talking. I delete the email and I sent him a message. I said, look, man, I just got an offer to be in a Rocky movie, and so-and-so, and I hope you understand. And they understood. And then it turns out that the fight in France got canceled anyway. So I called Joe Chavez back, and of course, they gave me the opening, but I was with Antonio Tarver. But I got to see Sylvester Stallone. He literally wrote, directed, and acted in Balboa. So I got to be part of that. And I did Here Comes the Boom, Kevin James. Well, I did, after the Play It to the Bone, I did Ocean's 11. And it was a 4-day shoot, but I was Wladimir Klitschko's Cutman in the movie. And, from there on, I started working with Wladimir. But I had seen him in Vitaly 1991 when the Soviet Union first broke. We took a team of professional boxers and kickboxers to Kiev, Ukraine, to fight their fighters. And at that time, I had Marq, which was a kickboxer. And Klitschko's were young, but they were already well known throughout the Ukraine. And then I did, Here Comes the Boom with Boss Rutan and Kevin James and Selma Hayek, and of course Creed 1 and Creed 2. And I'll tell you, I'll give you the scoop now. So
I'm in the city. I'm in the city, right?
Yes, well, that's what I'm telling you.
Go ahead and tell me. Go ahead. Tell us about that trilogy happening.
I'll see you in 2022, brother, for Creed 3. So I see Michael. I got a call. Things work out. They just, I'm a strong believer in karma. You do good things happen, and you keep that energy going. But I was thinking things that happened, were leading up to Creed 3. But when we finished Creed 2, and that was like 3 years ago, I'm telling Michael in the dressing room, because I spent 6 weeks with him, wrapping his hands, guiding him, making him the fighter that he is, helping him, right? And I tell him how proud I am of him and Tessa and Ryan Coogler. He wrote and directed Creed, and Steve Cappell, he directed Creed 2. And he's looking at me like this. He goes, Stitch, and this is Michael. He says, I'm directing Creed 3, and you're with me as long as you want.
Michael B. Jordan is directing Creed 3.
Yeah, he told me that 3 years ago, bro. And lo and behold, Nicholas Stern, the executive producer for the Creed movies, contacted me and just wanted to see if my dates were available January and February. And yeah, of course, I'll make them available. I talked to him, and it dawned on me that, well, he's in Atlanta, and I'm going to Atlanta. So I contacted him, and I said, would you guys be interested in coming to the fights? And he goes, oh, yeah, for sure. So I contacted Brad Jacobs, CEO of Top Rank, and told him, that the staff was thinking of coming. So they came, and Michael B. Jordan was with them, and see him, and he just gives me a hug right off.
I saw you guys. He walked right over to you. You guys
right up to me, man.
And,
tell me he has some good things coming up for me, and just a super guy, man. So so I'll be in Atlanta, man. Take my wife, because it's gonna be a long journey, and take my wife and see what happens with Creed 3. But I'm so proud of Michael just doing what he's doing. And then Ryan Coogler, to top it off, is in Atlanta filming Black Panther 2. Absolutely. So hopefully I'll get to see Ryan Coogler. So yeah, I've been blessed, man. So here we go. Atlanta, here we come.
Man, that is amazing, man. I'm so proud of you, man, because if anybody deserves it, you deserve it. I know you said we overwhelm you too much with the I always tell people he the best damn cut man money can buy. You don't believe me? Do your Googles. Google it, baby. Type in who's the best cut man. Your face pop up. I know you said, man, it's a lot, right? It's overwhelming, but you deserve it, man. talk to us about some of the bloodiest cuts that you took him with. I see right here you with the Gypsy King, Tyson Fury. This was bad. This was the Otto Wallin fight, correct?
Yeah, and I came in after that fight.
Okay, so you wasn't there for that.
No, they had Jorge Capetillo that was an assistant coach, but he just kind of got thrown in the trenches, and he's telling me that
right, because he wouldn't have been looking like this round after round with you, right?
Yeah, no. And I sat down with him with his shot. I did. I sat down with him, and he was just at the right place at the wrong time because he's not a cut man. Yeah, Forrest. Now, if you see this cut right there,
it was the video game cover.
Yes, well, Forrest. That was I think when he fought Forrest, Stephan Bonner. And
okay. I thought it was Shogun. My bad.
Maybe so. But yes, worked with him, and I worked a lot of bloody fights, man. But the bloodiest one had to be blood-wise was Jay Heron fought Jonathan Goulet from Canada. I was at the Hard Rock Hotel in Las Vegas, and Jay Heron took a knee right here. That big vein we have, Mark, when you laugh, it pops out. Well, that vein was severed, and the cut was maybe only about that big, but it severed that vein, and it came out like a faucet. And both fighters had blood from the top of the head to the bottom of their feet. And I'm working on the cut, and the ringside doctor is asking, can you stop it? And I said, yeah, I can stop it. I'm wiping them down, but there's so much blood that it's the smell of blood, the iron, right? It made me nauseated, and I've never been in that position before. It was that much blood. And but I'm cleaning them up, and I normally I'll mix adrenaline chloride 1/1000, that medication we use to close the blood vessels. I'll mix that with Vaseline as the final topical. And I knew I was in trouble because I covered it beautiful, and it just I covered it like this, and it just squirted right out.
Oh,
so like I say, it was that mat is at Randy Couture's gym here in Las Vegas. So I worked a lot of big cuts, big fights.
When you have you ever had a fight to stop because you just couldn't get the cut closed? Like
no, I've been pretty blessed. And if they do stop it, I have no gripes with that because I would tell them myself, it's not fair. I stopped one on my own, but I did it with Wladimir Klitschko, the first fight that I worked with him after he had just lost his world title to Lehman Brewster, and I came and I worked his first fight here in Las Vegas, and he ended up with a cut. Same thing, same type of Forrest Griffin cut that I worked on before, right? And you have to understand also the rules of the game, and it was an unintentional headbutt, and if it goes past the 4 rounds, and it goes to the scorecards. So I knew he was winning, and I told him and Vitaly, I said, look, you got a bad cut, you're winning the fight, I'm gonna have the doctor stop the fight. So when the doctor came, they asked, well, what do you think about the cut, Stitch? And I go like this, and I open it up. I say, yeah, it's pretty bad. Stop the fight. Went to the scorecards, and Wladimir Klitschko won the title or the fight. And then shortly after that became the heavyweight champion of the world for like 9 years. So
you attribute that to just, hey, you got to know the rules as well. You can't just be in there playing cut man.
100%. Everybody wants to be a cut man. They see what we do. I get offers all the time, but you have to understand all aspects of the game. And like I say, I was a trainer before I was a cut man. So, and then I've always studied all the rules and regulations because in this situation it paid off. Why would I want him to go out there and continue? And when you get that big old cut, because it's going to continue to bleed, then it's going into the eyes. And then now you're at a disadvantage. So, yeah, it was a good move.
I heard you say, Stitch, you say everybody can fight. For you to work with a guy, you kind of got to like the kid, right? And it's about personalities.
Yeah.
What's the personality, the type of person? Because you work with them all. You work with the quiet guy who's more subdued. You work with the more vocal personalities. How do you find a happy medium? And what is the type of personality a guy would have to get with the best cut man in the world?
Well, it's not so bad. Let me see if you can see this picture. Let me see if we get this. Okay, this is Tyson Fury. Oh, look at that. He's saying goodbye to me.
Yeah.
Right? And but there's I tell guys now, Mark, it's not about world title fights, bro. I've done hundreds and in all combat sports, right? It's not about the championship fights no more. It's about the characters that I work with, and not only the fighter but the trainers and all that, and it's you have to create a bond with them. like Tyson Fury and all the fighters I work with. I have to create a bond more than just a cut man. They have to understand that I'm there to take care of them. You know, and like Tyson Fury in this pictures, it's a set of 3 pictures where somebody took pictures and gave them to me in the dressing room as I'm saying goodbye. But I had told them before we went out, I said, look, I understand the type of fight you're going to be in. It's going to be a tough fight. I'm going to keep ice on you every round to minimize any swelling. I don't wait till it starts. I'll minimize it as work on his face because he's taking punches and all that. And, you know, there has to be some kind of swelling, so you try to minimize it. But at the end, he's right there in that picture, that 3 sets, he's saying, thanks for keeping ice on me, and gives me a hug. You know, so, you know, those are the kind of relationship I have with all these guys. You know, Wladimir Klitschko, you know, when he fought Anthony Joshua. I hadn't seen Wladimir, I didn't see him till the weigh-ins because my daughter had got married in the island of Crete Wednesday. So Thursday I flew to London, and I didn't see him till the weigh-ins in the dressing room. But I'm talking to him, and I understand the psychological aspect of a fighter. So I put my hand on his shoulder, and I said, you know, Wladimir, don't worry about nothing tomorrow. I'm going to take care of you like you're my son. And I leave because I know in the nighttime, fighters can't sleep. They're thinking about the fights and all that. And right before Michael Buffer does the announcement, right in the middle of the ring, you know, 90,000 Brits are looking at us, millions across the world, and I'm putting the final Vaseline on Wladimir, and maybe we're this far apart, and he looks at me in front of all these people and says, you can call me son. And bro, if that didn't get to me, because I knew I had gotten to him, and it turned out to be one of the best fights he's ever had in his career. Before the Fury Wilder fight, was probably considered the top fight in the decade. So,
I'm glad you brought that up because, you know, last time we talked, it was before the trilogy. You know where I'm going with it, right, Stitch? You're a very wise man. Well, wise. You said, nah. He said, come on, let's. You say you smoke weed?
No, show me. Yes.
Oh, I thought you said I smoke weed.
Oh, yeah, well, I do smoke weed. Shit. You know? Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
Oh,
yeah.
Hey, look, you know what Stephen A. Smith would tell you, right?
What's that?
You can't smoke weed. Period.
Huh? What? yeah. Say what?
Shoot.
Yeah.
Hey, look, speaking of that, I'm gonna get back to the Fury Wilder, but let's have some fun with this because you do have a CBD business, right? And then you talk about or I don't know if you're a partner in it or what, but talk to us about the CBD thing that you got going on that I heard this about when I was doing my notes and my research preparing, right?
Yeah.
And I saw that you were talking about the healing power of CBD and things of that nature. Can you discuss that for us? And what's the business venture?
Yeah, you know, I get offers all the time. People call me with different products, you know, for working on cuts, stopping bleeding, and for wrapping hands and all that. And I've had CBD companies call me, right? And this one company, J. Tim, he called me and says that they had created a cream for the healing process of cuts. And it has stem cell and, of course, CBD, collagen for the moisturizing, vitamin E for the healing, also in some other items. So I asked him, like I ask everybody else, is what do you have as a proof source? You know, then I go back to the 23 years of me working with R.J. Reynolds Tobacco Company. I introduced so many brands, Winston-Salem's, Camels. I mean, it's whatever it is, the same process. So I asked him, he said, well, that's why we called you. I said, all right, well, look, man, I'm working the bare knuckle fights. If you want, let's set up a program where you go with me, and all these guys get cut. So as they sew them up in the dressing room, you give them the cream, you take a picture of them, have them send you a picture a week later. And the guys that have been responding, the feedback has been tremendous. My brother had surgery in his stomach, a big old cut about like this, and gave it to him, and a week later, you know, so it works well. But then there's another company that they sponsored me for the Fury fight, where now they carry products for athletes, different CBD products for pain, for anxiety, for, you know, energy. So they're different items that they carry. So these two companies and myself will probably be working together. But I also had a company that let's talk. In fact, two companies talked about having a stitch line in the cannabis business. Right. And I said, all right. I said, but look, man, here's how I would do it. If you want to really be different, number one, rolling papers would be called stitch wrap, automatic, right?
Oh,
Right.
got that market in mind, baby.
So man, I ain't nothing yet, but hold on. So I told him, I said, look, man, the year I was in Thailand was the best weed I ever smoked in my life, the Thai stick. If you could create,
It's called a Thai stick.
Thai stick was the weed in Thailand. It was the best weed at that time. They would come literally in sticks like this. It would be rolled with bamboo, and but it was So anyway, I told him if you could create that same taste, it tastes like no other I've ever had. If you could create that, we'll call it Thai stitch. And they love the idea, man. So, so we'll see what happens. You know, I'm
gonna be in Vegas real soon.
Huh?
I said I'm gonna be in Vegas real soon again, so I'm definitely gonna see who has it because they'll push it in Vegas, man. You're the face. They know you everywhere out there.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
Got to break it out there. You got to break it in Vegas, man.
Yeah,
I think so. What you think?
Yeah, you know, everywhere I go, it's crazy. Snoop Dogg, you know, when I did the Triller with. Actually, Snoop has a program called Gloves Up, Guns Down.
Yes, sir.
And they had Gonzo and they had Bosco 101, whatever.
Yeah, Bosco 100.
Yeah, they did an exhibition together, and of course I worked with them, right, with both of them. And Snoop comes into the ring and Stitch, man, you're a legend. How you doing? And as we're walking, he gives me a hug and all that. And as we're walking down, he says, "Oh, gee. Can I take a picture with you?" You know, normally I'm the one that's saying, "Hey man, can I take a picture with you?" You know, but he's asking me. You know, so I felt pretty good about that.
We got a question from the chat. This guy right here is a loyal subscriber. His name is D-Ray. He got a question for you. He said, "Did Mike Tyson lose the Douglas fight because of no inswell?"
That's a good question, man. But that had a lot to do with it because if you don't have a good inswell, that means you don't have a good team. See, it all boiled down to the people that were with him. And I've known Mike. I used to be in the gym, and that's a good question. I think nobody's ever brought that up. But I used to see Mike used to train at Golden Gloves Gym here in Las Vegas. And he would have his entourage of people, and they would one guy would carry his luggage in, and another guy would lay the clothes out, and another guy would tie his shoes, and, you know, and they were all just a bunch of groupies, right? But none of these guys were really the top of the game when it came to working a corner. And you know, Mike was always a dominant factor, so it was easy. Like a fighter that don't get cut, it's easy to say, "Hey, I work with the champ." You know, yeah, of course you get that credit because you're in those positions. But when the shit hit the fan, these guys didn't know what to do.
Hands over there shaking and shit.
And just to have, I guess it was a glove, that he had ice with it. What to me was, it was embarrassing. If I would have done it, I would have been embarrassed. So yeah, that was. You know, Mike, I don't know, you know, what his preparation was, but it's that important to have a good corner during those type of moments. But that was a good question.
In that movie, I remember that movie what they did. I don't know how true that was, but when he got cut, they was like, "Give me the Vaseline," and they was trying to fix the cut. He was like, "I'm allergic to Vaseline." They was like, "What we got? We ain't got nothing." We didn't have. They didn't have an alternative. What can you use when a guy like Mike Tyson is allergic to Vaseline? What do you use?
Direct pressure, man. How many times have you got cut and let's say you get cut in your hand and you just put pressure on it, right, for a minute? See, blood coagulates itself, so you got to understand how nature works for you. So in a situation like that, Vaseline's not going to stop the cut. It plugs up the vein, but if you got a big vein, it's going to go right through it. But what you would do is you would just kind of pinch it and just kind of hold it as long as you can, you know, and let the blood work for you and start closing it up. And, you know, without any kind of medications or even without Vaseline. And that's why I tell a lot of these young coaches, if you don't have it, here's what you can do. So very simple. It's common sense.
Let me ask you this. We were talking earlier about the Tyson Fury fight. When you congratulations again for another team win, right? When you hear that Wilder gives him credit after this fight right here, but after that second fight, which you was a part of all three, right?
No, the last two. Both fights with Wilder.
Both, but he did 3 fights with Wilder. You didn't.
Well, the last two.
The last two. Okay,
yeah.
So which is the second one, which was under scrutiny, right? When you hear about the loaded gloves, do you take that as a personal attack on your integrity? Like because you did wrap his hands, correct? Or you
No,
are
I
there?
didn't wrap his hands. Sugar wrapped his hands. You know,
But you are
when I came-
there. You are
yeah, when
there,
I came
right?
in camp, you know, he's wrapping his hands, and I'm not the guy that, hey man, I wrap hands, let me wrap your hands. You know, if they ask, I will offer, but I'm not that. So he's doing a fine job. But
Right, 'cause
yeah,
you did wrap Shakur's hands, correct?
yeah, I wrapped Shakur's hands. I took Michael B. Jordan to the back. I said, come on, man, you can see what the real stuff looks like, and compare it to what you did. You know, what we did together in the dressing room, right? And but yeah, I wrapped his hands, and yeah, it's just it's.
Do you take that as a personal attack though when people
yeah,
talk about loaded gloves?
You
like,
have to, and I've done interviews. I did interviews on that first fight regarding that, and I thought it was a bunch of bull. And this a good friend of mine, Cash, and he called me and said, "Hey man, I got my friend that still thinks that was wrong." And I said, "All right, well look, let's do this. Have him meet me because he lived in Las Vegas. Let's go to the Mayweather gym. Let me wrap your hands like I would a fighter. Let's put the gloves on. Let's lace it up. Let's put the tape on it. And if you could take it off, you got my attention." It's impossible. Anyway, he refused. But yeah, it's an insult. You know, when guys that bring out these conspiracy theories and there's no proof for it, and they're armchair quarterbacks, it's quite disturbing for guys like us that do things at the professional level. And you know, Nevada is the best of the best with commissions, and they're there to look at everything and make sure everything is within the rules of the game. So yeah.
I think he might have answered this one, but we'll try. He said, "Stitch, have you ever had a cut that you knew you couldn't do anything with?"
Yeah. No, you know what? Well, there are some cuts. Yeah, of course. That one right there with, you know, the one that Forrest Griffin had, the one that Wladimir Klitschko had, those, even though you could control it, you could only control it for a while. See that, even though this picture with Forrest is a lot of blood, it is not giving him a disadvantage. It looks horrible, and my job is to clean it up, right? It's the blood there comes off the nose, so there's really no danger. But when it comes up, even Tyson Fury, that goes into the eyes. That the fighter becomes gets as a disadvantage. So yeah, I've been fortunate. You know, I've known when to hold them, and I've known when to fold them, and for the sake of the fighter. In the bare knuckle fights, you know, they have a great rule that I like, where because fights are going to happen. And this girl, Brittany Hart, I think is her name, she fought, and right on the bottom of the line, real thin, like you had a razor, and just right on, just sliced it pretty good. And they have a rule where the referee can stop the fight. They could bring them to me, and the doctor is evaluating her as I work on her. And Dan Margliotti says, "You got 30 seconds. I said, "No, I don't need 30 seconds. And she, of course, wants to fight it. I said, "No, look, when you go to the dressing room and you see that cut, you're going to thank me for stopping that cut." You know, so I did it in that situation only because it was going to do more serious damage than anything at all. And it was fresh in the first round.
When you was at that Triller card, who did you work the corner for when you were at Triller?
Well, the first one I did was KSI when he fought Logan Paul.
Mm-hmm.
And then I did one with Anson Gibb when he fought Jake Paul. And when Floyd fought Logan Paul, I worked with Badou Jack. A real boxing fight, right?
Right.
But Badou's going to be in. It's going to be.
That was supposed to be a title fight too, but
yes.
old boy popped.
Yeah.
Right. Pascal popped.
Yeah, he popped. You know, so
ruined that event too. It's like that event could have gave that card a lot of credibility, a rematch title fight, and he popped, and everybody blamed Triller for the card. Like, oh, it ain't no real fights. No, it's not their fault that Pascal popped. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And you know that Badou had that cut also. And see, that's where a good team comes in, because I started working with him after that fight, but they should have stopped that fight way before, because.
The corner or Tony Weeks, because Tony Weeks kept that going versus Brown. I think his name was Brown that he fought.
Yeah, Marcus Brown. And but in knowing the game like I did with Wladimir Klitschko, that team should have stopped it way before when it first happened, because what happened is it went to the distance and he lost because they were fighting for, I think, the #1 contender or something like that. For next one will be a title fight. But if they would have stopped it sooner, they could have relied, because it was an unintentional headbutt, just like Wladimir Klitschko. And if they would have stopped it, then it would have gone on the scorecards, or whoever would have won or lost. But you could have renegotiated for a rematch because it was an unintentional headbutt. But they ended up letting it go the distance, and they went to the scorecards, and he got beat unanimously. So that's where it's important to have a good team. And yeah. But
you would have told that to the trainer if you was in that corner as the Cutman. You would have said, "Hey, man,
yeah,
stop the fight now, because blah blah blah."
Yeah. It's not. It wasn't fair to Badu Jack. In fact, it kind of it was disheartening because he has so much blood in his face that he's shaking his head, clearing all that liquid blood out of his face, and that should never happen. So.
Absolutely. I remember you had said one time, you were quoted saying Conor is one of the biggest thieves in sports. How did you, not to misquote, I don't want to misquote you or misinterpret your statement. You want to talk, this was when he was setting up to fight Floyd. Some might argue or say, for lack of a better word, you were blackballed from that event. It's been some years now. Can you talk about it?
Yeah. And I did talk about I think he's a master. When you get Floyd and Conor on the marketing scheme, Conor got to where he was at. Of course, good ability, but selling himself on 101, marketing 101. And yeah, I kind of got blackballed on that. I had seen John Kavanaugh. I think I did a PFL show in New York on New Year's Eve at the Garden. And I walk in the back and I see his trainer, John Kavanaugh, and he comes and gives me a hug. And because I worked with Conor when I was there in the UFC, and he says, "Hey man, I want to talk to you about working with Conor." That's when he's fighting Floyd. And I said, "Yeah, of course, I'd love to. It's biggest thing in boxing and MMA at that point." And we spoke, and I went back to work at ringside, and after the fights, I see him again. He said, "Hey, I spoke to Conor, and he likes the idea." I said, "Well, so do I, man. Let's get something going." Well, I had like 4 dates already scheduled, and when I spoke to him, he says Conor wants to know, and if you could, and his agent called me, if you could cancel those 4 dates because he wants you in camp every day, wrapping his hands. But the problem was, I said, "Yeah, of course I could do it. It's mega full." But the issue was that it was at the UFC training center, and the situation I had with the UFC and Dana, I don't think it would have looked too good for him to have his number one guy with me. The fans would have shit all over Dana. So we sent him a proposal through my attorney, and they came back. And I mean, listen, I would have did it for $1 just for the sake of saying, "Bingo, here I am," and more for the thing. But they came back and said I was too expensive, and so that's what happened there.
When it comes to your one more round slogan, do you remember the first time you said that, or when did you realize, hey, we got something with this right here? Because I remember seeing you on TV on a commercial one time as a kid, and he was like, and it was kind of like almost like they were talking to you, and he was like, "My name is Jacob stitchduran, and I just want to give the guys one more round." And they showed you doing your work, and it was like some B-roll footage. You're like, "Give me one more round." I was like,
"Yeah,
let's go, baby!" And I was like, "Who is this guy?" And I was like, "What's he in, American Me or something? Like, who is this guy?" Right? I was like, I did not know he could do this stuff. But seriously, when was the first time you said it that you can remember, and when did you realize, hey, we got something catchy here?
No, I didn't have nothing catchy. Let me go way back to square one, where and how it started. Right.
Hold up, we got story time. Hold on, let me give you a good drop for this one. Story time. Get your popcorn ready. Let's go.
Anyway, to this point right here, Marq, I've never asked for one job. Everything that's happened to me has happened through fate, But what happened is Marq Zucker he's a designer, used to own BC Ethics, a apparel company, and he makes apparel clothes. He manufactures apparel clothes and all that. Well, he's watching Balboa, and Rocky's saying, "Well, I got to go one more round," and it hit him. Wow. That's such a great line, because one more round, he's thinking apparel. He could go with anything. He could go with a golfer, maybe like button-down shirts like this, T-shirts, maybe for golfers, one more round, maybe for whatever, pool, whatever. So he decided to create one more round, the company. And he got a hold of Matt Hughes. Matt Hughes was a UFC champion. and he sponsored him during the UFC. And Matt told him, and I told this story today from a friend that came down from Oregon. I told him the story. I said, Matt says, you know, if you want to sponsor anybody, sponsor Stitch because he gives the fighters one more round, right? And it turned out that when I met Marq, he got that idea from the Balboa movie, and I said, Marq, I was in that movie, you know. So they sponsored me for the longest time to the point where people thought it was my company. And until this day, it makes me great to hear guys go, now you got to go one more round. You got one more round, you know. So that word has stayed, and I have people in the audience yell, Stitch, one more round. And so what happened when I worked with KSI and Logan Paul, Marq and I lost contact for the longest time, but I always believed in him, and I always believed in the company one more round. And we had talked about doing, you know, Tommy Bahama type of shirts with, you know, with different classical things, and to represent one more round and never give up, you know, go one more round, that type of stuff. And then this COVID kicked in, and but then once again, you know, I hadn't seen him for the longest, and he saw me during that KSI fight, and it just kind of rekindled his desire, and so we continued it. And then this COVID kicked in, but KSI and Anson Kidd, they got, you know, the initial one more round new apparel that we came out with. But the fights I did in San Diego 2 weeks ago, I invited Marq, so we spent some time together, and we will kick in the apparel company. We're working on that right now, but I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, it's one more round. That's what I give the fighters, is one more round.
Do you still keep up with Muay Thai? I know you that was one of your first combat sport mediums back in Thailand when you was in the military, correct? So
Yes.
do you still keep up with Muay Thai? Do you still watch it? Do you like it, or is it one of those things I don't watch unless I'm involved?
I would watch them. You know, it's not big in the States. Kickboxing used to be decent, but it never big. MMA is big here, but no, you know, it's been such a long time. And just like baseball was something that I played. You know, I walked onto a college to play ball, and I wanted to be a pro ball player, but I don't watch baseball now. Not unless they put, you know, 2 gloves on. I usually don't follow them, but no, it's if I got invited, you know, to work a show or do a show, I would go. You know, it's what got me going. It was what got me here.
Why'd you shut down the ASK gym? And for the people who don't know, tell them what that was.
ASK, I opened up my own gym. Like I said, I worked for RJ Reynolds Tobacco Company, and one of my accounts had a supermarket, and it wasn't a big supermarket, but it was good size, and they cut his building down to half, and I took the other half, and I opened up a school with just a credit card, but it was called ASK, the American School of Kickboxing. Why did I close it? Because I moved to Vegas. I didn't close it. I transferred it to one of my students, Randy Bassart, and he kept going for a while. But yeah, I made the move to Vegas, and you know, best thing ever happened.
And you spoke briefly of your mentor, who was in the movie, the first movie with you. And by the way, from what I heard, you put a lot of guys in movies like Bayless, Robert Byrd. Talk to us about that, and also talk to us about the importance of having a mentorship very early, because people don't help you become a cut man. It's one of those things you gotta remember. You told me last time, you was like, that guy told you, he said, "No, I'm taking this shit to the grave with me, baby."
Well, he said it very derogatory. He's a F you. I'm thinking this to my grave, and you gotta learn like me. You know,
you gotta learn like me. Yeah. But somebody did give you a chance, and because this is one of those things you only can learn from experience. And in the midst of it's happening, the guy's cut for real. How do you do that other than being in the gyms? This guy give you a chance. Talk to us about that mentorship, and then I want to ask you about you getting Bayless and Robert Byrd in some of those movies with you.
Yeah, I unfortunately had to learn to be, you know, on my own, because then when it was boxing only, everybody thought that, you know, if I teach you my job, you're going to take it from me, right? Mm-hmm. And but coming into the UFC, I got plenty of exposure that way. But Chuck Bodak is my coming out party or fight was Raul Marquez was the IBF, I think, middleweight champ from Houston, Texas. He fought Keith Mullins, and Raul was a champion. Raul ended up with cuts here, and here. He had like 5 cuts, like 70 stitches altogether. I kept him in the game. He ended up defending his title. And Chuck Bodak my mentor comes up to me and first one that says, "You did a great job." People are thinking, "Wow, where did this guy come from?" But I had a lot of that experience in kickboxing. I was already at the world level, and so when I came to Vegas, I came solely as a cutman and not as a trainer because I thought all the great trainers were here, but I could do that also. But yeah, so that was my coming out party. Chuck's the one that welcomed me, and we ended up, coming playing and play. Here Comes the Boom together, and I started doing a documentary on him, and it was going to be called Chuck Bodak, the Shaman of Boxing. But then I got so much footage that we decided to call it Boxer's Nightmare. But during the movie, it was his 84th birthday, and they present him a gift in the ring and all that, and he says, thank you everybody, but when I cash in my chips, and he points to me, he goes, that's going to be the next greatest cutman in boxing, and I kept him to his word.
And you sure did. Talk to us about some of these when you were talking about the movies earlier. I forgot to ask you this. How did you get those? Because you get other guys in the movies, like they got you in there to be authentic, but then you bring other people, like they let you crack the door open, and you let the homies come get money with you. Like most people don't do that.
I've always said, Marq, when I was back home before I moved to Vegas, I said, look, man, I'm going to the top. I'm taking the bus. If you want to get on the bus with me, let's go. Yeah, I'm going with or without you, right? So I've always been, and we talked about it today with my buddy. When I did Balboa, in the early parts of the movie, I brought in Downhouse, and Downhouse is going to be working with Caleb Plant this weekend, right? And I brought in Livingstone Bramble, the Rasta man, used to be a former world champion, Boom Boom Mancini, and his son. So they were in the movie there, right? And then, but I brought Kenny Bayless, Robert Byrd, and Paul Querido. They were the referees in Creed 2, and Paul Querido is a partner of mine, good cutman. When they asked me also, if I knew Robert Byrd and these guys, I said, yeah, of course, I'll get them for you. I also asked him, I said, well, look, if you need a cutman that looks like a Russian, I have one for you. And I sent him a picture, right? So he ended up being the cutman for Drago's son. And so I got him in that one. But even with this Creed 3 movie, I was talking to Nicholas Stern, and he says, yeah, but Edgar Berlanga was going to be in the movie. But in his last fight, I think last week or the week before, he ripped his bicep. So he's going to be out for a while. And but he says, I said, well, how about Xander? Xander's a good-looking kid. I said, no, this takes place in L.A. where Michael was training, and, the fighter's more of the Mexican kind of guy. And so I went to the gym yesterday. And as soon as he told me that, I thought of this one fighter. And I went to the Salas's gym yesterday, and let me show you this. His name is Luis Arias. So I
interviewed him.
Okay, well, listen to this, man. Let me see if I get it. Let's see where we at here.
I know Louis.
Watch this.
Cuba.
Listen.
Professional fighter. Currently 19, 2-1. One bullshit ass draw. I'll be fighting on December 5th on Showtime pay-per-view. I heard you looking for some extras, man, and I'm your guy, man. I can be a straight Mexican from East LA, Holmes. Or I can be a Spanish from donde sea. I'm ready, and I'm your pick. Luis Arias.
Yeah, so see, I got that. Well, Nicholas Stern sent me a message today that says, hey, man, something, we want to look at. So, so I, if I could do it, you're in, that type of thing. And why not? Because outside of being friends or guys that deserve it, it makes the movie authentic. If you're going to use guys that, that are in the movies or that actually do what they do, why not bring them on board?
And look, and I like how he did that. He did the accent and all of that. Because I interviewed him. I know where he's from and I know his background. So I just thought that was good acting already, showing he can do it. And because he has a lot of character. Even if you just watch any of his face-offs and press conferences, man, he's a super cool dude, super talented, real easy to talk to, similar to yourself. We got another question from the chat. Before we do that, this guy Tiger, he said, bro look like Edward James almost. And I was like, we already talked about that. That's the picture right there.
Yeah, and the Tiger still got the same shirt on too, bro. Haven't changed.
Hey, look, he's a real person, man. He's a real person. But some call him the Cut King, man. Hey, D-Ray said, do fighters need a union, in your opinion, sir?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, not so much as a union because we're all independent contractors, but yeah, but as association is a union, bro. It's the same thing. It's all in the name, right? But there are some programs. We are working on some situations right now where, they definitely need it, no doubt about it. Because there's just so many things that go on without it. Well, when I did this documentary a while back, I sent a bunch of surveys out, but I kind of knew the answers to them, right? A majority of these fighters that fight have less than a high school diploma. A majority of these
again,
fighters,
sir?
Pardon me?
Say that last part again. They have what?
Less than a high school diploma. A lot of fighters, right? There's a high percentage. And a lot of these fighters that fight, when it comes to an annual salary, make less than the poverty level. And a lot of fighters that fight go into a fight with some kind of injury, right? And those are the facts. Those are the facts that have never changed. But when I did this documentary, Boxer's Nightmare, it's still in the shelf. We haven't really done nothing. But I interviewed Mike Tyson, and right a week before he got his tattoo, I said, Mike, what do you do with these guys? What should we do with these guys? He goes, hey, man, get him a clergy or get him an attorney, somebody that will take care of him. He goes, look at me. I lost over $100 million. And what do you tell your wife? What do you tell your family? He goes, that's what makes the fighter punch drunk. But a lot of that is because there was no representation. But, let me give you a fact also, and that was a good question. I'm glad he brought it up. See, the maximum that a manager could get from a fighter is 33 1/3%. That's with the athletic commissions and all that.
So that's the manager, not the promoter.
That's the manager. But the fighters do not know that everything is negotiable from 1% to 33 1/3%. I'll go and I'll say, I said, Marq, listen, man, I'm going to take care of you. I'll get you some calls. I'll make you some calls. It's going to cost you 33 1/3%. All right. Well, if that's the case, you should just get an agent that will charge you 10, 15%, right? If you're going to make phone calls. But in the situation where I'm paying for your rent, paying for your house, your feed to watch you grow with the potential of you making money down the road, then I think 33 1/3% coming back is fair. But you don't have nobody to guide them. So, definitely, I mean, it'd be nice to get a union together. I spoke to Phil Casabianco. He is Joe Smith's manager, and I work with Joe Smith, the world champ. But they're real heavy in the union, and I've spoken to them about it. And hopefully they'll give us some guiding on how we can put something together for boxing and MMA, all combat sports. But a good question.
Absolutely. Have you ever heard of ring10.org, Stitch?
No.
Ring10.org. I got a guy, man, named Major Key Boxing, him and Troy Graham. They have a dope show they do on Wednesdays. And they do it with ring10.org, where they bring the guys over. Ring10.org gives 100% of them. It's from former fighters and Cutman. I forgot his name is Matt, and God, man, if I say his name, you'll know his name. But these guys, I think he's still a Cutman, the other guy who's involved in Ring 10. But Matt is a former fighter, and they give 100% of the money to the people and to the fighters who need it, like guys like Gerald McClendon and his family and things like that. It's pretty dope. I'm gonna see if I can set you up over there, man, because they do this thing called Coach's Corner. I think they'd love to have you over there because you got great stories and insight. Let's see if we can work that out.
Yeah, I'm always trying to help, man. Give back. You have to give back. And me, even that's a good point. Is me as an educator, my job is I leave this game is whatever I leave was that I help make this game safer, and it's through education. And here's a fact right here for you. Also, is all combat sports that we're in at the high level. If you look at it, every other sport, all their trainers and coaches and all that, they all have to be certified one way or the other.
Right.
You don't have to be certified at all, man. All you do is buy a license for whatever state your fighter's fighting from, $50, $35, and you're a pro. So that has to change a little bit.
Yeah, because somebody had asked me, they had that question. D-Ray, he had a good question. And you said basically that's how you become a Cutman. You pay in the state, and somebody got to take a chance on you.
Well, no, I'm just talking about for professional, not only Cutman but coaches. You know, none of us have to be certified to be considered pros. You know, and then the question is D. Ray saying is, you know, how does one become a Cutman? And I get those kind of questions all the time. And here's what I tell them: I said, look, you got to spend hours and days and weeks and months and years in the gym, learning the sport that you're going to be working in, and working with fighters close, and you donate your time wrapping their hands and get their confidence, and hopefully you'll start working a corner with them as carrying the bucket or a water board, whatever. You work yourself up to being a Cutman. But I get doctors and paramedics and nurses, and they think they could just step into it and do what we do, and that's not the case. You know, we have basically, if you're real good, 50 seconds to work. So.
G Hizzy had a question. He said, would an organization similar to the Screen Actors Guild benefit fighters and others who are contributors to the boxing game?
Yeah, I would say so. And but that's where that union association comes in. You know, talking to Phil Casabianco is, you know, like they were saying, you know, our union, we have these money, I guess, from the dues and all that. We want to put this back into a program, and combative sports is one that we're looking at. So I've been working with him as times go on, and talking to other people, and you know, like the bare knuckle fights, they're setting up a pension plan for these fighters. So you know, it takes that first step to go out and do it. You know, but it should have been done a long time ago, especially this day and age.
Okay. Let me see. Here's another one. Still, he says, Stitch, what was the craziest corner you have ever worked where nothing would? I think we might have answered this one already. Where nothing would go right.
Well, you know, I've worked with some horrible corners, you know, and that's my point. You know, see,
but he never let this happen right here, right, Stitch?
No,
we was talking about this earlier.
You know, that was horrible. Look at this blood. It's just, and look at his mouth. The blood dripping out of it. It's horrible. It never should have happened. And you know, as you look at it, yeah, I mean, I could criticize, but I don't have to, because
cook them up a little bit, Stitch. Let them know what look. The fans don't know this. You feel like you criticize them, but the fans need to know this, because we call this guy a warrior.
Yeah, he's not going to stop. You know, and but yeah, just to have anybody at that point, I mean, it's a mess, and it should never happen. But that's that big vein that you pop. That's a major vein that continues to bleed, and that goes right into the eyes. But yeah, the corner did a very unsatisfactory job, and it was unfair to Badou Jack.
You want to take a couple calls? Are you okay with that before we go? I know you got to go. Man. I appreciate your time. 678-381-1938. I see somebody in the chat. They said are the phone lines open? Yeah. He said he's been here for about an hour, guys, because he was on time. And I really appreciate his time and his energy. Again, if you're just tuning in, you're watching Breaking Beats, where we break down business, entertainment, art, technology, sports. And tonight we have a very special guest, Cutman trainer, military vet. He's a California kid, you know what I'm saying? And he's here today, being gracious with his time, and he broke some news. We got Creed 3 coming in 2022 in Atlanta. And it's directed by Michael B. Jordan. D. Ray, how you doing, my guy?
I'm doing excellent, bro. Hey, man, great interview. Stitch, you are the man, bro. Hey, I appreciate him, man. He seemed like just a natural interview, bro. Almost like y'all just having a one-on-one conversation that we get to hear. And I appreciate that. And I also wanted to thank him for the impact that he had in the sport, bringing light to others as well, and bringing them, you know, along with him. And I just wanted to know, how much longer does he see himself, you know, in the fight game? I appreciate it. Everybody subscribe, like, and share, because this is great content. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Appreciate you, my man. Yeah, you know what? I call this barbershop talk. I can do this forever, right? In fact, I just, you know, my job is on weekends. So like Monday through Thursday, Monday through Wednesday for sure. I'll go visit the gyms. I'll go by Mayweather's gym. I'll go City Boxing. I'll go to Salas's gym, Bone Adams' gym, and just go shoot the shit with the guys. you know, and it's like barbershop talk and coming to America, you know. So I enjoy doing that, you know, but
if
in all
Mama called him
reality,
Clay, I'm gonna call him Clay.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So so I enjoy doing that, but talking stories, because nobody has the stories that I have. Nobody's even close to the stories. I mean, working with so many great fighters. Not that I'm bragging, but I'm in awe with myself. And you're right, Ray. I'm a normal guy, man. I'm just good at what I do. You know, I was born this way, and I have no changes, no plans on changing. But how long will I go on? You know, until the mechanics start slowing down a little bit. That's everything. But I'll continue at least through education.
Absolutely. Do you see yourself creating like a school in Vegas for Cutman? Because I'm sure everybody all over the world would want to come, like, just because you didn't even have to be in the room. Your face could just be on the marquee. Put the mustache in neon lights, and all the flies will flock to see what you can teach them. You ever thought about creating a school?
No. And the reason why is
not?
Because,
You gonna keep the secrets?
And I'll tell you why. Because you can spend. I've done seminars before all over the world, right? And but you know, when it comes to teaching you 4 hours, even you spend 2-3 days working, learning to be a cut man, it doesn't make you a cut man, right? You'll learn the mechanics of it, but now you have to go and then you got to prove yourself to the team, and the only way to do that is through actions. So I'm
sorry about that. Go ahead.
No, sorry. I don't want to show you, and then you go and say, "Oh yeah, Stitch showed me how to be a cut man," and then you go work a fight, and you don't work the cut, and the fighter loses. You know, so I don't certify guys, and I'll teach you as you go.
Okay, I got a caller from you. Who is this? 919. You're on the line. What's your name and where you calling from?
Yeah, salute to the neighborhood. This Sir Senior.
Hey, Sir Senior, you got a question for Stitch Duran?
Yes, sir. Most definitely, we all respect all the authenticity that you bring to the sport in movies, and just your level of expertise is just so amazing. With all of that, is there anybody, you know, up and coming that you think is, you know, doing a good job and probably be good in the sport, you know, in a few years once they get, you know, some more history under their belt?
Are you talking about cut men or fighters?
Actually, that was for both.
Okay, good question. That was one.
Yeah,
that was on my list. Good question, sir. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I love that, man, because you know the Cutman don't get the respect that are due, right? I always say we're kind of like the Marines, first one in, last one out. And the only time they recognize us is when we do a good job. But yeah, there's some good Cutmen coming up, and a lot of them have followed the style, the system that I put together. Mike Basil, that I worked with him with the top ranked fights in the bubble. Paul Querido, that I told you was a Cutman for Drago's son in the movie. Mike Rodriguez. So there's some young up and coming, the new generation of Cutmen that are wearing gloves, that are wearing the wrist wrap where they put the swabs in here instead of in your mouth, and you know, they put the Vaseline on their hand, and they work. The techniques that I use is they use, and I know that they followed the footsteps that I have. So it's getting better in the aspect of Cutmen. I tell guys, if you have a Cutman that put the swab in his mouth or he puts it in his ear, get another Cutman. Because
I know that's right.
Yeah, that's filthy, and that just doesn't work. Young up and coming boxers, yeah, of course, Shakur Stevenson, those guys that you mentioned, Teofimo and Giovante and Rowley, and all these guys are the young up and coming.
Rowley, that's debatable.
Romero.
That's a little debatable.
Yeah,
it remains to be seen.
Well,
because he just getting started. He got a big plate in front of him.
Oh no, he has a major plate.
This guy right here was sitting right beside me at the fight. He said you guys spoke as well. His name is Kyle from the boxing section. He has a dope show. I'm sure he's gonna want you to come on his show one day and do a interview with him. But go ahead. You got a question for the legendary Stitch Duran. Go ahead, Kyle. You got the floor.
What's going on, man? Marq Nash, man. Appreciate you for having me on, like always, man.
Go ahead, get your shot. Let's go.
So Me and Stitch, we met in Atlantic City.
Yep.
I think 2 years ago. They act like they didn't know who he was. I said, hey, man, that's Stitch Duran. That's the best cut man in boxing. You gotta let him in. And they looked at us like, oh, I'm sorry. And then so he ended up walking in. So me, him, and Steven Nelson ended up walking in together. So that's how me and Stitch met.
He's my agent.
Yeah.
Well, man, how you doing, boss?
Good, man. Man, I'm excited to have this opportunity to talk to you on Wax. What would you say was your greatest accomplishment as far as being a cut man?
Ooh, that's pretty solid, man. You know, there's been a lot of good ones. It's a solid one. You know, God, I don't know. That's a good one. You know, let me think about that. I have a lot of great moments, man. And you know, like say Wladimir Klitschko calling me son. You know, but all that started with Lyoto Machida when he fought Rashad Evans in the UFC. If you remember, he's very Brazilian, but his father's very Japanese, Brazilian Japanese, right? But he had his crowd sitting there, and he beat Rashad Evans, Lyoto, and I worked with Lyoto, and I went in the dressing room and to congratulate him, and his father is sitting there, very proud, and in front of his father, Lyoto says, "Stitch, in the corner, you are my father." And his father looks, and he just like Shogun, just agreed. That had to be a very special moment for me because it just meant so much, you know, to be considered a father. So that's what I tell the fighters now is that, look, in the ring, I'm going to take care of you like you're my son. So I've had a lot of great moments, man. It's just it's tough to pick when nobody's ever asked me that one. So I gotta see what's the best one's better than that.
G Hizzy said, he said, question on compensation. Are cut men pay a fixed rate or percentage of the purse?
Yeah, it depends on the fighter.
He pocket watching, Stitch. Look at him. He pocket watching.
Yeah.
He with the feds, homie. You got to watch him.
It depends, you know, on economics. You know, there's a certain point, a minimum that I charge, whether it's by percentage or whether it's a purse or straight salary, right? But it depends on the money that these guys are making, you know, and everything's negotiable. So, you know, in that aspect, it works both ways. Because, you know, if I got a percentage off of you, and, you know, you're just first time you're doing a 10-round fight, and, you know, you're getting paid, you know, $5,000, you know, yeah, I'm not going to get too much meat off that bone, you know. So then I work for a base, right? And sometimes that works out better. So both ways, it depends.
Got another question from the chat. Kyle, you got another question as well, correct? Go ahead, Kyle. Go ahead and ask your question first, and we'll go back to the. Okay, Robert said, "Hey Stitch, you are a legend. My favorite fighter was Michael Carbajal. Did you ever work with him or against him?" No,
I never did. You know, that was Michael Carbajal. I was coming into the mix, into that A-level mix when Michael was already a champion and all that. I was a big fan of his also. You know, his brother Danny. You know, got to know him real well and all that. But no, I did work with Johnny Tapia. That was, you know, like about as good as as it comes with guys comparing them to like Michael Carbajal. So when I worked with Johnny Tapia, that was a blessing, but never Michael.
Go ahead, Kyle, and we're gonna go back to the chat with more questions. Go ahead.
Okay, so if you got to rank it, right, the movie or a championship fight, which one would you rather do?
The movie. I've done hundreds of championship fights. You know, like I was telling Marq Nash earlier, I've done hundreds and hundreds of championship fights. It's not about the fights no more. It's about the characters that I'm working with, right? But the movies are something that I'm not an actor, right? But to have those opportunities to do something on the silver screen, especially with, you know, guys like, you know, Michael B. Jordan and Sylvester Stallone. You know, how many guys you know have done 3 movies with Sly, and how many guys you know have done 3 movies with Michael B. Jordan?
Yeah, most
I know a guy, you know. So yeah, to me they're just challenges. You know, it's never about the money. It's just they're just challenges.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I got another one. You got another one, Kyle? Before I go back to the chat,
man, I got one more. This one right here. This probably be the best question of the night right here, Marq.
We're gonna see. Let's go.
MMA or boxing? If you had to choose an event to do all day and be at an event all day, which one would you rather be? Would you rather be a cutman for MMA or would you rather be a cutman for boxing?
Well, I've done them both. In fact, I'm doing boxing tomorrow or Saturday, and so I'm doing the boxing version of what we did in the MMA. I like the MMA. I like the MMA because of the action, and every fight was a big fight, and then the cuts were more. So in that aspect, the entertainment value was MMA. But I've been for the last year in this bubble. I've been working. This is like my 34th show with Top Rank. So I can't complain about what's going on right now.
Most definitely.
Plug your show, Kyle.
Oh man, this is the boxing section. TBS, man. We started in Atlantic City. So that was one of the best moves I made was going to Atlantic City with Steven Nelson, starting this podcast. So yeah, man, whenever you free, man, you know what I mean? It'd be much appreciated.
Yeah,
to have a long conversation with you on wax. Marq Nash.
Hey, Stitch, once he send me my Cash App, I'll square him away. I'll plug him in with you.
You got to talk to my agent, man.
Yeah, man. I'm the new agent now.
Let's not forget who your first agent was.
All right.
Thank you so much, Kyle. God bless, bro.
All right, man.
Hey,
look,
somebody asked me what is your favorite fight movie?
That's a good question also. I don't know. It's
wow, we stumped him with that one.
Yeah, no, wait, listen, how can I say, Balboa? How can I say Rocky? It has to be one of the Rocky series because Rocky just, brings so much energy for a lot of guys. But like the movie Southpaw, it was funny because Forrest Whitaker is coach Cutman for this fight. And the guy gets cut and he has a cut right here. But if you look at when they filmed it, he has a swab up there. So so there were some discrepancies there. But I got to go with Creed because that was my first big movie with Michael B. Jordan, and it was done well. But the reason why is because I'll give you another behind the scenes. When I got the script, my character was Marcel, and I said, well, I don't know anybody named Marcel. I'm gonna have to fix that. But when it was time for Rocky to introduce us to Adonis, he says, this is Stitch. He's the best cutman in Philadelphia. And bro, at that point, I said, I'm locked in. The next day I thanked him and he says, it has to be authentic. And then there was another point, if you remember when Rocky got sick and him and Michael or him and Adonis are in the gym and we just walked out and he throws up and he picks him up and all of a sudden he yells Stitch. Well, the gym is in the second floor in Philadelphia and it was snowing outside. So we were on the stairs going outside and I didn't know what the scene was. And all of a sudden I hear Stitch. So I start going up and I think, maybe it's part of the movie. The next day I'm wrapping Michael's hands. I said, look, Michael, I ain't one to kiss nobody's butt or anything like that. But that scene right there really was effective. And I'll tell you why, because, my job in the movie is to take care of you. And I had just left the gym and you're working with Rocky and Rocky gets sick. And the first thing you do is you yell for me. To me, that's very, very authentic. That wasn't in the script, bro.
Really?
That's in the movie. Yeah.
That's retainability of him being all the way in character of like, what would this guy do?
100% right. I told him, I said,
that guy's talented.
It gave me chills, and so I have to say Creed, man. Yeah,
would you say, what's the biggest production set you've been a part of? Because Creed was as good as a movie is. I don't think he had the Ocean's 11 budget, right?
No, Ocean's 11 was, hey, listen, I met Brad Pitt, George Clooney, Julia Roberts, Andy Garcia, Matt Damon. These were all superstars, right?
Did you get starstruck by anybody? Like, oh my God.
No, but I'm over there. Just Matt Damon comes up to us and say, "Hi, I'm Matt Damon." So it went both ways. So it's nice because they come into our world, and that's what makes it special.
That's dope. I've heard a lot of the bigger the star, the more they do that. I heard Michael Jackson used to do that. He'll walk up to people and say, "Hi, I'm Michael Jackson," or really? Beyonce still do that. "Hi, I'm Beyonce." Yeah, and people be like, "We know you. That's why we here."
Well, that's nice. But, it's nice that they respect you for that. And but I just saw one of your guys from the Fields of the Garden by chance,
Yeah, he said, are you going to continue this? And he said, everyone needs to read this, by the way. Amazing job, Stitch. You want to talk to the people about what that is?
Yeah. From the fields to the garden, you know, during the UFC days when Tito Ortiz and Randy Couture and Matt Hughes, all these guys were Chuck Liddell, they were writing books on them. That's when the UFC was real hot. And the author that wrote Matt Hughes' book contacted me and took my wife and I out to dinner and talked about writing a book. And I'm the kind of guy, if you want to do it, let's do it. You know, I'm easy. So he never contacted me, and a couple other guys, never happened. And there's one guy, Zach Robinson, that is a teacher in Germany. He teaches the military kids up there, baseball player like me and all that. He contacted me, and he's written books called Sports by the Numbers. And he says, I'm a big fan, and would you be interested in working with me and writing a book? I said, man, turned out I was going to be in Germany 2 weeks later with, I think Vitaly Klitschko was fighting. And I got to meet Zach for the first time, and we shook hands, you know, good old guys, and wrote the book, and it became a top seller in Amazon. So the UFC let me go, and people kept asking about the second book, and so I did From the Fields to the Garden 1 and 2. But now I'll just let you know also is they're turning that into a documentary as we speak right now. The Fields growing up as a farm worker, and the Garden, Madison Square Garden. In fact, I'll be in Madison Square Garden tomorrow. You know, so but when I signed with this crew to film the documentary, a week later I get a call that Triple G is fighting at the Garden, and they gave us all access, and we got some great footage. And then this COVID kicked in, and it took us out for a long time. And these guys came back a couple of months ago, and they interviewed Tyson Fury and Virgil Hunter. We're going to get Andre Ward and Triple G and Cain Velasquez and Javier Mendez. And then, of course, we went to my hometown and got all that stuff. So we're about 90% done. Still got to get Andre and Triple G and get some B-roll here in Vegas and then Michael B. Jordan. And so it's going into documentary. It's pretty badass, man.
Absolutely. Andre Ward is a class act, man. Every time I see this guy. Is he like that in person?
100%. Yeah. Just a natural guy.
Robert said, out of Jeff, Floyd Sr., and Roger, who was the better fighter and trainer in your opinion, of course?
I think Roger. You know, Roger had the more skills, and I've worked with all three of these guys. And just a super family.
When you see the fight, we got a big fight coming up. A couple fights. I know you said you really don't like to do picks, but I know you're gonna be working, if I'm not mistaken, the Canelo and Caleb Plant card somewhere, right?
No,
you're not a part of that card at all.
Not yet. But things.
Man, they tripping.
Things. I just let it flow, man. But no, I'm doing the show the night before, and
so you're gonna be in town. You're gonna stay in town.
Yeah. I'll be here. I'll be home. So, but no, not yet. Don House is working with Caleb, and I don't make predictions, but I think I told you what I do is I look at the probability of the importance of a cut man, and in this situation, I think both guys are going to need good cut men because like Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder's going to be that type of fight.
How about my guy Terrence Bud Crawford? He's going to be facing off against Showtime Sean Porter. You worked with the Porter camp and things like that before, right?
No,
never worked with Porter.
No, been in the gym. Terrence.
Been in the gym with him though, right?
Yeah.
And you seen him work and things like that, right?
Yeah, no doubt.
Absolutely. What's the probability of cuts in that fight?
Not as big as the Caleb Plant Canelo fight. I think they're both movers. They're not going to be staying toe to toe. But Terrence Crawford, I know he did some damage and to Jeff Horn, so everything's capable. I think he cut him right on the nose. And I know ESPN brought me in to be a Cutman analyst for that fight. And but Terrence can fight, man. Well, so can Sean. That's on the 20th, 27th.
The 20th, November the 20th.
I'm supposed to be leaving to Dubai that day, but I just might leave the day after.
You got a fight going on in Dubai, or you going to relax?
Yeah, Badu Jack is fighting up there on the 27th. But it's cool because he's kind of hooked up with the royal family, and they just sent me some videos of what they're training, bro. It's a different world, and I'm glad I'm going just because it's that. you know, and plus working with Badu, I mean. But, you know, normally going to Dubai at this time of the year, I'd say, nah. But I'm looking forward to it.
Did Tyson Fury really have COVID, Stitch?
Yeah. Kind of made me a little mad, you know, because I'm putting Vaseline on him during the sparring every day. And, you know, I mean, I have to assume that, why else would they, is there a conspiracy theory?
They say he needed more time to train. He wasn't ready.
Man, hey, that's a mismatch because this guy was looking good in the gym, man.
So he won't get beat up in sparring. That's cap.
No, he was looking good. I tell you, I'm in the gym every day putting Vaseline on him, and I'm telling him how he's looking good. So that was put a stamp on that one. That's done. No, is he the best heavyweight in the world right now, in your opinion? Yeah, You know, when I first started working with him, when I sat down and met with him, I said, you know, I could never understand when you beat Wladimir. You know, we were all so confident that we were going to win. When you beat Wladimir, we were all in shock of what happened. But when I saw you fight Deontay Wilder, that was the second fight. The skill level that you had was, now I can understand why. I said, as Bruce Lee would say, is your whole movement is like water. And as big as he is, brother, nobody's going to show a heavyweight how to fight like Tyson Fury, as nobody's going to show a fighter how to fight like Floyd Mayweather. Those two you just can't compare.
Did you just call Tyson Fury Bruce Lee? Did you say he's Bruce Lee?
I said, as Bruce Lee would say, is you move like water.
Is he the best thing since Ali? Because that's what Bob Arum been saying.
I'm not going to answer that question. It ain't my job. You know? But I know he moves like water. Yeah, Bruce Lee said that. You know, that's
yeah. I just wondered. Did you see my face? I was like, Bruce Lee. He's good, but he ain't that good.
Yeah.
But look, I don't want to take too much of your time because, like I said, man, when I talk to you, man, I feel like I'm talking to like one of my uncles or one of the OGs from the block who I'm just trying to pick his brain and learn everything from him. I just, man, this was so good, man. I'm trying to see. Did I miss anything? I know I am. I'm missing something right now. I know. Let me go through this real quick. There we go. I'll ask you this right here. Rowley and Tank, are you going to work with Rowley at all? Have you ever worked with Rowley or Tank or seen them in the gyms?
I've worked with Rowley before. I've known him since he was a little kid. And his father was a Cuban fighter, one of the first Cuban guys to come. And he would go to the gym and spar with these guys smoking a cigarette, right? And he would knock guys out. So his father could fight. Very, very heavy-handed. Well, Rowley's the same way. But, you know, we were talking about that today. I mean, I love the kid. I've known him since he was a kid. But does he have the skills to beat a Gervonta Davis? And some of the fighters in the gym think that he has that knockout skill. And but, you know, does the boxing skill, is it going to be good enough to fight Gervonta Davis on a boxing level? Power-wise, they both have that power, right? Rowley probably a little bit more than Gervonta, but skill-wise, who has the boxing skill-wise? So real quick, preference question, Asian Math asked about Avatine or thrombin to use in championship buff. I don't use either one of them. Avatine and thrombin are what they call coagulants. Avatine is more like, good description is like a cotton candy. Thrombin is in a liquid form, but they're coagulants. Adrenaline chloride 1000 that I use primarily, that's a vasoconstrictor. So you put that in the cut, and in theory, it closes up the blood vessels. It's like bending a water hose, right? Avatine and thrombin coagulate the blood, but once Avatine, like say it's like a cotton candy. Once you hit it, it takes it off, and it takes that clot with it. So I don't know. Nobody's ever asked that.
Yeah, good job, King Agent. Good question. Last one. I'm gonna try to wrap this one up. D-Ray said, "What could be done with the knot like Rodman had against Real Deal?" I interviewed Hasim Rodman about this, and he said after fighting Evander Holyfield, and Rodman's a comedian too. I don't know if you guys know.
Yeah.
He is funny, man. So he said, "I see why," and he paused dramatically. He said, "I see why Mike Tyson bit his ear."
Yeah.
He said Holyfield is ahead of his class. And he was ahead of his time. Like just little he made jokes of it himself. Yeah. But the question is, what could be done in a fight like this? You and I talked before, like in the movies, they say, "Cut me, Mick."
Right.
But in real life, you don't cut this. Talk to us. What can you do?
That's a good, and and I tell Sly many times. I say, you know how many times I've had to educate people on that cut me Mick theory? I said it doesn't work because now you get blood in the eyes. But what happens is everything that's accumulated there is a big puddle of blood. Yeah, you could cut it; it would definitely leave. But now you have two issues: you got blood that's dripping out. Now you got an open wound. Plus, we're not doctors, so that's out of the question, right? But what do you do with that right there? Even though it looks bad, it's not giving him a disadvantage because both his eyes are still capable of being open and undisturbed. So it looks bad, but it's nothing to worry about. And eventually, through the healing process, it'll just absorb back into the system.
Really?
Yeah. It looks like shit, but
But he is okay.
Yeah, he's okay. Yeah, as long as he don't mind. But it's just an accumulation of blood.
So this is a bad stoppage when we see these type of things, when they stop it because of this.
Well, it depends. If it's on the bottom, it's a good question. If it's on the bottom and you're seeing swelling like that, the chances of having a broken orbital bone is questionable. So you got to look for that. Not so much up on top. A lot of the fractures come on the bottom, but up there, yeah, it looked bad, but it's not affecting his performance or giving him a disadvantage. That's usually when they stop the fights.
And the last thing, what's the next big thing you got going on? You said you got a Badu Jack fight. What's the next big event you got going on? You are about to be a consultant in a movie as well, right? Is somebody hire you to be a production consultant to make sure it's authentic?
Yeah, it's an MMA movie. In fact, I just got some information from them today. That comes in after Creed 2, but they contacted me. They're filming an MMA movie, and they want me to be a consultant producer to go with the program. So I've been working with them, and as they set up their plan. But looked like it's going to be in Brisbane, Australia, and it'll be like after Creed, like in March. So I'll go from one movie to another, and it's just the adventures. It's more than just the saying, you know what. Because I've never been scared to try anything. I would say, as long as it's not going to kick my ass, I'm okay, right? And I'll go try it. I mean, I've gotten zapped, with tasers when I was doing military tours, and because I wanted to try that, and I've gotten bit by dogs, they chase you down and with the armor, and during the military tours, I've always done that. So I've always been adventurous, and I was talking about it today. Is getting going through a gas chamber would be my next one. So I've always been like that, but yeah, just to do another one in Australia would be a different challenge for me.
You do 42 plus events. You do like 40 something events a week. When do you take a break or a vacation?
Monday through Thursdays. Well, you're right. I mean, it's right. And, like I said, I got invited Triple G's fighting in Tokyo, December the 29th, but that's like my 70th birthday that day. And my wife says, well, I want to take you to Cabo San Lucas. And so it turns out I'm not going to Japan anyway because it's like a 10-day quarantine. I'm missing Thanksgiving as it is, going to Dubai. And if I was to go with Triple G, I'd miss Christmas. And of course, I'd miss my birthday with my family. And sometimes at this stage, family's always important. So.
Does your wife ever want to go, or she ever like, man, you are living your best life? Or does she be like, oh, I'm going to this one because I've never been here before?
Yeah, well, she's going to Creed 3 with me for sure. And I've taken her to France and New York. And, now that, we're pretty well established now that we're going to be traveling together a little bit more and just enjoy life, man. Just have fun because what I do is not even a job. It's an adventure. So
what do you do for leisure? Like, do you fish? Do you play cards?
Just chill.
Just be sitting at home, smoking a little good joint.
Yeah, play domino with my wife. And but just chill out. Like I say, Monday through Thursdays I'm home. And the weekends I travel. But So how can I complain? I'm living a good life, man.
Okay, well, look, I'm not gonna hold you up anymore, man, because this has been a treat. I can't believe you stayed this long. I think you broke the record. This might be my longest interview yet, so you might have set the new record. I think King Asian Mav got a question for you before you go. Go ahead, King Asian Mav. Go ahead, King Asian Mav. You got a question for Stitch?
Oh no, you pretty much asked him everything. I thought he was about to go.
Yeah, he's about to slide. Stitch, what are your plans after retirement? or do you plan to still ask that?
Yeah, no. Like I say, it's not even a job. I'm retired already. It's just that I have the privilege of working all these fights. So this isn't even a job, but it's an adventure. And I don't know. I don't know what happens. As long as I'm healthy, my knees are good, my back's good, and I think I'm in pretty good shape. And
you can do you can do this until you can't do it no more. I guess.
There's I don't know. Whatever challenges come in 2022, I'm going to take them.
Stitch, before you go, I'm going to tell you, man, I got an idea for you. Just think about it.
All right.
Okay, mustache and facial hair treatment and care products. Like you can sell like the creams and the trimmers. Like I can picture your face on the box. You can sell, yeah, man. It'll just be come on, man. Once it happens, when they reach out to you, look, I might white label it. I'm gonna reach out to you. I might white label that and holler at you about that. We can sell that, Stitch.
Hey, when you create it and make me your partner, man. Ball's in your court.
I'm gonna hold you to that. Hey, look, I'm gonna hold to that. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your energy.
Okay, Marq, I did have one question. All
right, go ahead. One
top 3 fighters all time. I know you've probably been asked this before, but I never heard the answer. Your top 3 fighters all time. It could be MMA or boxing.
Oh wow. Well, I'll give you top 3 fighters MMA, and I'll try to predict top 3 fighters for boxing. But Wanderlei Silva, Fedor Emelianenko, these guys were super. Randy Couture. I mean, there's just so many of them that are great. Boxing, of course. I got to give Wladimir Klitschko credit. Floyd Mayweather definitely falls up there. Mike Tyson, when it comes to skill-wise, not as good as a Floyd Mayweather or as good as a Lennox Lewis, that type of thing, but he had the knockout power. But there's tons of them.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely.
Can't give it to you, man. It's like saying I like you better than I like marqnash.
No, that's just your preference. You know what I'm saying? What division? What weight division is attracting you the most right now?
The heavyweights right now, with Tyson Fury, that just kind of rekindled everything. But right now, the Teofimo Lopez's and the Gervonta Davis's, all that group right there, that's the one that kind of has my juice.
Yeah, that 135. Yeah, it's been hot like fish grease for about 2-3 years now.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah, it's good.
Hold on, Asian Mav. Now I got one more question. Last one for me. Mike Tyson is supposed to fight Logan Paul. Have you got a call about working this card at all? Or have anybody reached out to you? And if so, if not, what do you think about the event anyway?
Yeah, no, I haven't got the call, but not to say that I won't. I just think just happened, right? But I there's certain things like the Pauls that it's a little different. They're younger, they're athletic, but like Holyfield when he got knocked out by Vitor Belfort, to me that was heartbreaking. Mike Tyson is Mike Tyson by name, but he's not Mike Tyson by boxing skills anymore. One of the things is in boxing, as you can say, is you can beat anything, but you can't beat time. And when you got a young kid like Logan Paul, I would run around as much as I could to get him tired. I know when Roy Jones fought, he got tired, and so yeah, I'm not a big fan of that. Will I work it? Hell yeah, because they pay good money.
Let me give you the drop. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your energy. Hey, look, man, I don't want it to go this long before I talk to you again, my brother. But I promise I won't keep you an hour and 40 minutes next time.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, we had an hour and 35 minutes right now.
Oh shit! All right.
I hope I don't get you in trouble with the wife, man. Thank you so much.
I still got a pack for tomorrow.
Say what?
I still got a pack for tomorrow.
Oh, I'm so sorry, man.
I got to be at the airport at 9 in the morning. That's all right. That's what I do. But I appreciate it, man. Thanks,
man. No, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for your time, man. I'll hit you up, man. In a couple weeks and see what's going on.
All right,
and just get your take on the fights after they happen. These big fights with Canelo and Plant. I'll hit you up after that.
All right.
God bless you, man. It's Jacob Stitch Duran, the best damn cut man money can buy, y'all.
TRC Music.
Salute.